Okay, welcome to class. We are going to need our orange notes packets. You need your assignment 51 puzzle time 4-1 worksheet, and make sure that you have submitted that. We're going to jump right in, talk about the homework, then we're going to go through the notes and give you guys some time to work on your assignment. You noticed, just to give you a heads up, you have a worksheet that you're going to be submitting to Canvas, which is this one right here, translating algebraic expressions, but you're also going to be completing a Canvas quiz or a quizzes that there is a link on Canvas that you're not going to have to submit anything for. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I want to draw your attention to the last two questions on your homework. This is kind of a new concept that I know you can get to the right answer without writing an equation, but we want to start getting used to writing equations. So it says the second book in your series has 9 more chapters than. When I hear that more than, I'm going to be thinking about changing order, and I'm thinking about addition. We're going to talk about that later today. So it has 9 more chapters than the first book in the series. The second book in the series has 38 chapters. How many chapters does the first book have? Whenever we're trying to write equations for story problems, we want to define a variable. So we want to figure out is what are we missing? And so in this case, we're missing the number of chapters in the first book. Because there's a first book and a second book, I'm going to call the number of chapters F in the first book, because that way I'm not confused with, am I talking about first book or second book? The second book, so we go back to the beginning, and it says the second book in the series has 9 more chapters than the first book. Well, the first book we just defined as F, and this is 9. And so really what we have is F plus 9 is equal to our second book. Well, it told us here that our second book is equal to 38. Now we've written an equation that makes sense with how it's worded, where it said 9 more chapters than the first. Now we're going to use our inverse steps like we talked about yesterday and get rid of the addition. We're going to subtract, and that gives us 29 chapters in that first book. The second one was I actually messed up on the first time I did it because the variable ends up being isolated already. But Emily has a Springer Spaniel that weighs 48.5 ounces. She also has a Cocker Spaniel that weighs 24.8 pounds, less than the Springer Spaniel. How many pounds does the Cocker Spaniel weigh? So in this case, I'm going to go C is the weight of the Cocker Spaniel. And in this case, if we go back to the beginning, it talks about the Springer Spaniel weighs 48, also has a Cocker Spaniel that weighs, now it says 24.8 pounds less than. When I hear that less than, I need to change the order. But it's less than what? It's subtraction. So it's going to be subtraction, but it's less than the Springer Spaniel. Well, the Springer Spaniel was listed right here, and that's its weight. And so it's really going to be 48.5, okay, minus the 24.8 is equal to the Cocker Spaniel's weight, which we called C. So this is equal to C. And in this case, our variable's already isolated, so you're just going to, out on the side, you're going to do your subtraction since it is already just a positive minus a positive, and in this case you can see that you're going to end up with, on that problem, 23.7 pounds is the weight of the Cocker Spaniel. All right, so now we're going to go through the rest of the worksheet from last night. And as you look, what did the digital clock say to its mother? Well, we're going to get to the end, and it says, look, Mom, no hands is what you should have had. But let's go back and look at the homework. So quickly, as you go through these, I want you to see that you should be doing your inverse steps as you look at each one of these. So number 1 we did together. Number 2, you're going to add 12 to both sides, then you get A equals 15. Number 3, you're going to add 7 to both sides, you get Y equals 3. Number 4, you subtract 11 from both sides, and you get g equals negative 24. As we look at number 5, you are going to add 1 and 75 hundredths, and I lined up my decimal points as I did, and it's just a positive plus a positive, so you get z equals 5.57. Number 6, you're going to, now you can flip it around or you can leave it exactly the way it was, but in this case, h was on the right. You need to add 2.6 to get rid of what's next to h, and so you're adding 2.6 and you get 7.5. On number 7, you're going to subtract 8.7 on both sides, gives you 5.8. Number 8, once again, the variable's on the right. You don't have to flip it around like my work shows here, but you're going to get rid of what's next to w, which is the 8.5. So you could just do it right here on this side and just add 8.5 to both sides. But as you notice, the signs are different, so you're going to subtract and tug of war. Did that work out here on the side, so you don't make a mess of your work area. Number 9, you have fractions, so you need to get a common denominator. We're going to subtract 1/4 from both sides, get a common denominator of 20, and c equals 7/20. And number 10, you're going to add subtract 3.5 from both sides. The signs are the same, so you're going to add and keep, and you're going to get a common denominator of 6. And you end up with 8 1/6 as you do this. If you need to pause to kind of go back and look at these, you're welcome to. Number 11, you have D on the right-hand side once again, and next to D you have minus 2 1/8. So you're once again going to add 2 1/8 to both sides, get a common denominator of 8, and you get 7 7/8. And number 12, you are going to add 4/9 to both sides to get to your answer. We already did the story problem, so once again, our answer to our riddle was look, Mom, no hands. And let's move on to page 3 in our notes. As we go through these real quick, you can pause as needed. If you're doing this on, obviously, you can have it up on your screen and kind of work through. You don't have to get every little thing written down as we go through these. There's a bunch of examples. Try to get as many written down as you can. But once again, we're going to review kind of some of the things we've been talking about yesterday. So a variable, once again, is a symbol that represents one or more numbers. We normally use a letter, and we use X, Y, and Z often, and we normally use lowercase. So that's the same thing we talked about yesterday. Algebraic expression, we did not mention yesterday. We talked about slightly, but it's a mathematical phrase. It has at least one variable, but it does not have an equal sign. So examples would be 13 minus g or 3x plus 4. Those are expressions, not equations, because it does not have an equal sign. Algebraic expression, on the other hand, is a math sentence. So it's kind of like what we talked about, has a left side and a right side, kind of like in a regular sentence, you have a subject and a predicate. And it expresses that two expressions are equal to each other. So you're taking two expressions and putting an equal sign in between. The symbol, what symbol do we use for the word is in math? Well, that is an equal. So when you see the word is today, you know you're going to be dealing with an equation, not an expression. So half of the ones we're going to look at, more than half of them are expressions, and then we're going to get into equations. To save you time, we're going to talk about, you have these all written out for you. I'm going to have you highlight a couple of these because there are a few that I want to draw attention to. So all these words mean addition. There are other ones that you can find as well, but these are a good start. And I kind of like how it's formed in the shape of a plus sign, just kind of make you think that. So plus and total altogether, increased by, combined, add, sum, altogether, in all, more than. We're going to come back to that one in a second. Subtraction, you have words like subtract, gave, take away, decreased by, fewer, minus, shared, fewer than, less than, and the difference, and less. And when you hear these words, the reason why I'm having you highlight those words that say fewer than, less than, you're going to change the order. So if I were to say something like 3 less than a number x, 3 less than, well, or we'll not even get to the x's yet, but 3 less than 6. When you hear it, you hear 3 first, but it would actually be written as 6 minus 3. It's 3 less than 6. So even though the 3 is what you hear first, you're actually going to write it second. So those are important because with subtraction, order matters. Okay, multiplication, times, double, triple, product, multiplied by, of, increased by a factor. Twice means times 2, triple means times 3, multiple. Division doesn't have as many either. Quotient, per, ratio, divided by, half, divisor, dividend, divided into, percent, split up, separated equally, would all indicate division. Is, words mean is, or equals. Is the big one that we're going to use. Are, were, was, will be, yields, sold for. Equivalent is another one. If you have parentheses, which we'll come across occasionally, the quantity of, twice the sum of, twice the sum, or times the sum of, times the difference of. Speaking of which, when you hear those, what happened to my, oh, there we go. So when you hear those words, twice and difference, the word sum, the words difference, product, and quotient, those all mean the answer to each of those. All right, so as we jump in, let's turn over, and we're going to get into writing. So this says write an algebraic expression for the word phrase. So this time you're given the word phrase, you can kind of look back at some of those words, and so in this case I see the temperature, T degrees, increased by 5. Increased means addition, so this one would be T plus 5. As we look at the next one, 5 cats fewer than C cats. Well, fewer than would indicate subtraction, and when I hear fewer than, I need to change the order. It's not actually 5 minus the C cats, it's actually C minus 5, because you're taking 5, there's 5 fewer than what you're starting with C. So you have to change the order on that one. Less than is another one. There's a few other examples that we can come across. The product of 5 and N nickels, I believe that's misspelled. When you hear the word product, you're thinking multiplication. The number always has to come first. What we're going to avoid writing, we are not going to write 5 and put an X anymore. We're going to avoid that. This is the preferred way we write it. And if the number comes second in the problem, you still will write it in front because the coefficient always is in front of the variable. The dinner bill, D, is divided amongst 5 friends. Divided, we're going to write it, and this is the preferred way. We're going to avoid this symbol, and we will write it as a fraction far more often, and so this is the way I prefer to see you write division. Just get in the habit, especially as we deal with algebra. You're going to not see the division symbol anymore very often. Okay, so now this next part, you guys can pause if you need to, but you're going to write your own word phrases. So you're going to try to come up with something creative with these. So if I had X plus 2, you could really just write a number X increased by 2. You could have written a number X plus 2. You can go as basic as you want. Now, I do want to encourage you on your homework to try to write a few different versions. Not write the same thing. Every time you see addition, don't use the word plus. You could have 2 more than a number X. When you use more than, you got to change the order. So X is actually first in the problem, but when you write it in this example, you have to put the 2 first. You may write a 2 on your homework. You don't need to write the word 2, but you do need to write a number X. The sum of a number X and 2 would also be acceptable on that one. As we look at the next one, this one is a number P divided by 3, or the quotient of a number P and 3. All right, and as I said, I'm going to go through these pretty quick. C minus 50. Well, you could write a number C minus 50. You go as basic as you want. 50 less than a number C. Once again, you change the order on this one When you see less than, you have to change the order. So even though 50 was listed second in the problem, it's actually written first when you write it in this word form. The difference of a number C and 50. And this one also is one that wasn't on your list, but when it's subtracted from, so 50 is being subtracted from C, a number C. So you'd change the order on that one as well. So this one, and this one, you're changing the order. Now with addition, order doesn't matter, but with subtraction it does. 9y would be 9 times a number y, and the product of 9 and a number y. All right, so you guys can freeze on that if you need to write down some of these. I know I went by them quick. Whoop, 9 multiplied by a number y would be another way of doing that one. Now, equations. We're going to write an equation. So this one's slightly different. What I want you to notice on these is we're going to come across the word is. And so as we look at these, we'll look at these examples real quick. The sum means addition of a number. And since we're going to use a number, you can use any variable, but I'm going to use n. And 3 means equals to negative 11. So the equation is going to be n plus 3 is equal to negative 11. And you're not going to have to solve it today, but you're just going to get used to writing it. 5 less than a number n is 20. So is means equal to, less than means subtract, but once again, less than, we're going to change the order. So this is really saying n minus 5, because you have 5 less than n, is equal to 20. The quotient means division. Order matters with division, so n and 3 is equal to negative 11. And so in this case, quotient, we're going to write it as a fraction. N over 3 is equal to negative 11. And the final one, twice a number, is negative 40. Once again, is means equal, so twice a number is 2 times a number. So this would really be 2n is equal to negative 40. All right, so since I'm not here today, I'm going to go through and demonstrate and show you what I want you to do. So you're going to get the handout in a moment, and you're going to do a translating equations quizzes. So this is the worksheet you're going to do. You're going to get that handed out to you. Up here on the top, what you're going to do is you're going to write something that looks like the bottom. So the bottom, so when you see the product of a number n and negative 9, you're going to write something that looks like down here. And then when you get to the bottom, you're going to write the word phrase for what you have here. So 9 plus m, you could write as basic as 9 plus a number m. Okay, so just one, you're writing word for a phrase. The other one, you're going to write the expression. I'm going to jump into Canvas. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Canvas. Once again, you can just go to modules, or you can click on our agenda screen. Once you get in here, you're going to go to assignment 52, and you will notice that you have a submission button, which you're going to submit the worksheet there, but you're going to go to your class period. I'm going to choose 7 for some reason, since I'm not sure if it's looking right. You're going to click on your class period. You're going to type in your name. So you're going to go ahead and type in your name, and I want first and last name, and this is only 10 questions. You'll hit start, and you're going to go ahead and this one is on equations. So 16 more than 5 times a number is 50. So it's equal to, or 56. So it's equal to 56. 17 more than means add, but it's 5 times a number. So it's 5 times, and I'm going with that one. All right, glad it shows you one answer if you watch the video. All right, you do not have to submit a picture of this. You're not going to submit a picture of the Canvas of the quizzes. You're just going to complete it. I'm going to check it on my computer that you have completed it, and I will check to see that you will submit the worksheet to Canvas for me. Have a great day.